Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to translate essential intelligence into, well, actionable strategy.
And today, we're really digging into something fundamental.
We are. We're challenging what feels like a core tenet of modern parenting, this constant need to praise, and the impulse, that immediate reaction to jump in and rescue our kids from anything difficult.
Yeah, and our sources today argue pretty forcefully that these things, these really well-meaning actions, they might actually be getting in the way.
Getting in the way of what, though?
Getting in the way of them developing real, durable confidence. Genuine self-belief.
It sounds completely backwards, doesn't it? Because everything tells us love means protecting them, affirming them.
It does. It's totally counterintuitive. But the research, particularly when you look at developmental neuroscience and frameworks like the detached parent approach we're exploring, it makes a compelling case.
Which is
that sometimes the most loving, the most effective thing you can do for your child's confidence is actually to hold back, to practice strategic restraint. We've kind of been sold this false promise of praise.
Okay, let's unpack that straight away. Because look, for a lot of parents, especially high achievers, validation is everything. Grades, awards, even just our compliments. That's the currency, right?
It absolutely is. But here's the core contrarian idea. Confidence that needs your constant verbal propping up. It's hollow.
Hollow how?
It's not really theirs. It's borrowed. Borrowed from you, the parent. Think about it. If I keep telling you, oh, you're so brilliant, and then you succeed, your brain doesn't just credit your effort. It credits my endorsement, my initial statement.
I see. So if the praise disappears or the parent isn't there.
Confidence wobbles or collapses. And that's the crux of the confidence paradox. Confidence isn't some fuel you pour into your kid before they start.
It's not the starting line.
Exactly. It's the result. It's the outcome of a process. It doesn't come before the challenge. It's actually built by successfully navigating that challenge. A pep talk doesn't make you confident about coding.
Only coding makes you confident about coding.
Basically, only the action itself.
So we need a major shift in focus, away from trying to manage their feelings, their confidence levels directly, and towards what? Managing the process of building competence.
That's it. If praise isn't the builder, we need to understand what is. And that brings us to what the sources call the confidence loop.
Okay, the confidence loop. Lay it out for us.
It's actually quite elegant, really powerful. It starts with a belief. Now, this belief can be small. Sometimes it's just borrowed from the parent's calm presence, that unspoken message. I think you can handle this.
Okay, so step one is belief.
That belief then fuels action. The child actually tries the thing, climbing the tree, tackling that tricky math problem, whatever it is.
They take the leap.
They take the leap. And that action, crucially, generates evidence. Real objective proof. Data points.
Like what?
Like, okay, I fell, but I got back up. Or, wow, that was confusing. I flailed around a bit, but eventually I saw the pattern. It's the proof of doing.
The evidence, the proof of competence. That sounds like the non-negotiable part.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Because that evidence then completes the loop. It locks in reinforced confidence. And this confidence is durable. It's real because it's rooted in internal competence, something they did, not just external compliments, something someone said.
So the takeaway here is compliments are like temporary scaffolding.
Yeah, maybe. But competence, that's the concrete foundation. And the whole point of this deep dive is to explore how we as parents, often acting out of love, consistently break this natural cycle.
How do we break it?
By stepping in too soon.
Yeah.
By rescuing. By becoming the fixer.
Right. And the goal is to shift from being that default reactive fixer to being more of a strategic, supportive believer.
Exactly, the believer. Someone who trusts the process and the child's capacity.
Okay, to make that shift, we first have to understand why we jump in. What's driving that impulse? The sources call this the fixer trap. What is it about seeing our kids struggle that makes us want to micromanage?
Well, it's deep-seated. It's partly emotional, partly neurological.
Yeah.
Think about capable parents, people used to optimizing things in their own lives, their careers.
They bring that same mindset home.
Right. They see mess, inefficiency, struggle in their child's life, and the instinct is optimize this, fix it.
Huh.
Often the quickest way to fix it is just to do it themselves. They see the gap between where the child is and where they think they should be.
And they leap across it.
They leap across it to close that gap.
But isn't that just love? Isn't it about protecting them? How does that loving impulse morph into what the sources rather bluntly call the incompetence assumption? That sounds pretty harsh.
It does sound harsh, but it's trying to get at the underlying message of the behavior, not the intention. The incompetence assumption is that quiet, often unconscious belief the operating system running in the background,
Yeah.
that assumes the child can't actually handle it.
Can't handle the difficulty, or the responsibility, or the potential failure.
Any of it, without the parent stepping in quickly and precisely. So the parent is acting out of love, absolutely. But the action itself whispers doubt. It communicates, I love you too much to watch you struggle with this. They're essentially projecting their own anxiety about the struggle onto the child's capability.
And you mentioned a hidden cost, the hidden cost of helping. So when the parent constantly steps in, what's the child actually learning? What's the real message, the dangerous one behind, here, let me tie that shoe, or don't worry, I'll email the teacher?
The message cuts deeper than any words of encouragement you might say later. The unspoken communication is profound. You actually can't handle this yourself.
Or maybe even, I don't trust you to figure it out.
Exactly. Which is maybe even more damaging. When that happens over and over, the child learns to outsource. They outsource their problem solving, their sense of capability, even their sense of safety. The parent becomes the external hard drive for getting things done.
The external nervous system needed to navigate difficulty.
Perfectly put. It wires dependency, pure and simple, not capability. If I never actually need to activate my own problem-solving skills because the problem just vanishes thanks to mom or dad, why would I develop them?
This isn't just psychology or parenting philosophy, is it? There's actual brain science here, the neurobiological short circuit. You're saying the brain is designed to grow through challenge, through friction.
It absolutely is. And when the parent consistently removes that friction, they're effectively hitting the off switch on key developmental systems, systems that require struggle to mature.
Okay, let's break that down.
Mm.
What are the key brain areas that get short-circuited by this over-rescue?
The first big one is the prefrontal cortex, the PFC.
The brain's CEO.
Right, the boss.
Yeah.
Responsible for all those executive functions. Planning, prioritizing, controlling impulses, wrestling with complexity. And crucially, the PFC isn't fully baked until, the mid-20s.
Right. It needs a long workout.
A very long workout.
Yeah.
Like any muscle. So when a parent jumps in to organize the homework schedule or mediate the fight with a friend or fix the broken toy instantly, the child's PFC basically gets benched. It gets a vacation it doesn't need.
Because the parent is doing the executive functioning for them.
Precisely. The parent becomes the default problem solver. So the child's own circuitry for planning, for thinking ahead, for managing frustration, it doesn't get the reps. It doesn't build the connections, the myelin, needed for independent thought. You're essentially stealing the neurological workout required for them to mature.
Wow. Stealing the struggle means stealing the brain's growth opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, what about motivation? Persistence, that drive to keep going.
That brings us to the second critical area, the dopamine system. Dopamine is key for that feeling of effort and reward, satisfaction. It's the neurochemical cocktail that fires when you overcome a challenge independently.
That I did it feeling.
Exactly. And that dopamine hit does two things. It cements the memory of success, and it basically tells your brain, hey, that was good, do that again, you can do this. Self-efficacy.
But how does parental help affect that?
The quality of the dopamine response changes. If a parent steps in and helps finish the task, sure, the child might feel relief. Phew, that's done. But the internal reward system, the self-efficacy part, is muted.
Why?
Because the brain attributes the success, the completion, to the external helper, to the parent's speed or knowledge or just their presence taking over. The reward gets linked to outsourcing the problem, not to owning the solution through persistence.
That's a really critical distinction. Relief isn't the same as earned satisfaction. Okay, so we have the PFC, the dopamine system. What's the third area impacted?
This one's about resilience, emotional durability. It's stress inoculation.
Like a vaccine.
Exactly like a vaccine. Kids need exposure to small, manageable, safe stressors. Little failures, frustrations, moments of discomfort. These are like tiny doses of a developmental vaccine.
What did these small doses do?
They train the nervous system.
Yeah.
They teach it how to handle distress, how to experience frustration or disappointment without immediately going into full-blown panic or shutdown mode. It builds tolerance.
So rescuing them from every little frustration.
It's like giving them a constant emotional anesthetic. It removes the discomfort, yes. But by removing the discomfort, you leave them neurologically fragile, unprepared.
So when a genuinely big stressor hits later in life.
And life guarantees it will.
Right.
They just don't have the internal resources, the practice neural pathways to manage it. Anxious kids aren't just born anxious. Often, they're shaped in environments where every tiny bump is treated like a 5-alarm fire by the adults around them.
Okay, let's make this concrete. We need a scenario, one that every parent listening will probably recognize, maybe even shudder about. The forgotten project.
Oh, yes. The classic. Picture this. It's
Yeah.
9 p.m. on a Sunday. Your, say, 10-year-old wanders into the kitchen, eyes wide as saucers,
Mm-hmm.
announces that the huge science project, the one they've known about for 3 weeks, is due first thing tomorrow morning, and they haven't started. Not a thing. Cue the panic. Total chaos.
Right. So the traditional parent, the fixer, what happens next?
Triggered. Instantly. The parent's own alarm system, their amygdala, goes off like a siren because the child's panic feels like their emergency. They absorb the child's fear, and they convert it into frantic action.
What kind of action?
Scrambling. Googling facts about volcanoes at midnight, co-writing the report, printing out pictures, maybe staying up half the night, barking questions at a tearful child, maybe even firing off a quick email to the teacher mentioning unforeseen circumstances.
And the project gets done, the grade is saved, crisis averted.
The immediate crisis, yes. The grade might be okay, but the real lesson, the crucial developmental opportunity, completely missed. Failed, actually.
So what is the unintended lesson the child walks away with? The one that gets wired in?
It's crystal clear and incredibly dangerous. When I mess up, when I fall apart, when I panic, someone else steps in and works harder for me.
Wow.
Yeah, that frantic rescue reinforces avoidance. The child learns unconsciously that meltdown and delay are actually effective strategies. Why? Because they successfully outsource the responsibility, the effort, and the consequences.
And the parent gets that shot of short-term relief. We fixed it. But they've just contributed to a long-term pattern of
Entitlement, avoidance, and fragile self-concept. It's a really costly installment payment on future problems.
that craving for short-term relief. That's the cycle we need to break, isn't it? We have to shift focus away from managing the immediate outcome, the grade, the project, and towards managing the child's internal ability to handle things themselves.
Exactly. Which leads us right into the core engine of genuine self-belief. Competence. Competence is the engine driving real confidence.
And to build that engine first, we need to challenge this cultural obsession with what the sources call praise without proof.
Yes, we need to get really clear about the difference between feedback that helps and praise that might actually harm.
Harm? How can praise harm? Especially things like, you're so smart, that feels like the ultimate compliment.
Well, here's the problem. Praise that focuses on fixed traits, smart, talented, gifted, it's incredibly fragile.
Why fragile?
Because it's external, for one. And often, it feels unearned, or at least disconnected from specific effort. When a child's sense of self, their confidence, starts depending entirely on hearing those words, on getting that external approval, they develop a kind of validation addiction.
Okay, validation addiction. What does that look like?
It can look like high achievement, actually, but it's often brittle achievement. These kids can become adults who feel this constant pressure to perform, just to get that hit of approval, that feeling of being loved or valued.
And they might avoid challenges.
Absolutely. They might shy away from anything difficult where they risk losing that smart label. They start seeing mistakes not as opportunities to learn, but as fundamental threats to their identity. That's mistake phobia.
A fear of messing up paralyzes them. If my value is tied to being perfect or smart, I can't risk doing something where I might look not smart.
Precisely. They end up waiting for the perfect conditions, the guarantee of success, before they even start, which means they never take the necessary risks, the leaps that are required to actually build real skills.
So the antidote to this fragility, this mistake phobia, it's embracing the mess.
It's embracing the messy reality of how learning actually happens. The only way to build competence, real competence, is through what the sources call the competence cycle.
Okay, let's define that cycle. What are the steps?
It's pretty straightforward, really. It's the natural process. You try something new, then inevitably you fail or flail. You struggle, you stumble, you don't get it right immediately.
Okay, try, then fail or flail.
Then, from that failure or flailing, you learn. You get feedback, either internal or external. You figure something out. And based on that learning, you try again.
Try, fail, flail. Learn, no, try again. That makes sense. But where do parents usually intervene?
Almost always at that crucial middle step, the fail or flail part.
Why? Because it's uncomfortable to watch.
Deeply uncomfortable. That period of struggle, of frustration, of not knowing, that's where the necessary friction happens. It's where the critical feedback comes from. If you jump in and smooth it over, if you remove the flailing.
You remove the feedback, and therefore the learning. The evidence doesn't get generated.
Exactly. You can't learn to ride a bike if someone holds you up perfectly the whole time. The wobbles, the little falls, that's the data your brain needs to figure out balance. Remove the wobbles, you remove the learning.
Which brings us then to a core strategy from the detached parent framework. The A in DETACH is allow the struggle. This is about consciously choosing not to intervene immediately.
It's about protecting that space for friction. You have to think of struggle as the developmental gym. It's where kids build the muscles of tolerance, problem solving, persistence.
So rushing in to make it easier.
It's like canceling their gym membership. You're robbing them of the workout they desperately need to get stronger. We can't wrap them in bubble wrap, insulate them from all friction, and then somehow expect them to develop resilience and strength. It just doesn't work that way.
What's our role then, if not to remove the struggle?
Our role is to ensure the gym is safe, keep the playing field safe emotionally and physically. But we have to allow the game itself, the learning process, to actually be difficult sometimes.
I can almost hear parents listening thinking, okay, but where's the line? How do you know if you're allowing productive struggle versus just being neglectful or seeming uncaring?
That is such a critical question. And the distinction really comes down to two things: your intention and your presence.
Okay, explain that.
Allowing struggle is not abandonment. It's not checking out. It means you remain emotionally available. You're there. You're a calm anchor, a regulated presence for them. But you are strategically, intentionally withdrawing from the rescue.
So we're present, but not intervening in the task itself.
Exactly. You're allowing the child to feel the natural consequences of their actions or inactions, not piling on punishment, not creating artificial consequences, but letting reality be the teacher.
This leads to a pretty bold idea in the source material: spectacular failure as a teacher. We're not just talking about little wobbles here, are we?
No, sometimes we're talking about bigger stuff. Allowing kids, within safe boundaries obviously, to experience the full, unedited outcome of a poor choice or a lack of preparation.
That sounds terrifying for a parent. Why would we welcome failure?
Because of its incredible teaching power. This taps into the neuroscience of memory again. Failures, especially ones that have some emotional weight, real disappointment, embarrassment, maybe sadness, they create what are called flashbulb memory.
Flashbulb memories, like really vivid.
Incredibly vivid, detailed.
Okay.
The brain flags these emotionally charged events as important and locks them into long-term memory much more effectively than, say, a lecture.
So me telling my kid for the 10th time to remember their coat is useless.
Pretty much forgotten instantly. But the actual feeling of being cold and miserable at recess because they forgot their coat,
Yeah.
that visceral feeling, that gets remembered. That's the data point that might actually change behavior next time.
Or the feeling of shame when the teacher asks for the homework they didn't do.
Exactly. That feeling is the neurological lock that secures the lesson about planning or responsibility far better than any parental nagging could. Failure provides feedback that sticks.
So the message isn't you're a failure, it's this approach didn't work, what can we learn?
Precisely. Failure is data, not destiny. It's feedback, not fatal. But again, the parent's role during this is crucial. You have to stay regulated, stay emotionally present, ensure the child feels safe in the failure, supported through the disappointment, even while you strategically resist fixing the cause of the failure for them.
This whole approach, allowing struggle, welcoming failure, it requires a massive internal shift for the parent, doesn't it? A strategic shift from being that default fixer to becoming a more disciplined believer.
It's fundamental. And the transformation doesn't start with new sticker charts or chore list. It starts internally with the parent.
How so?
The parent has to first own their role as the head regulator of the family. Think of yourself as the nervous system CEO.
The head regulator. Okay. Why is that role so critical?
Because of co-regulation. It's a biological reality. Your nervous system state sets the emotional tone for the whole house. If you spiral into anxiety or frustration when your child struggles, their nervous system mirrors yours. They borrow your chaos.
But if you manage to stay calm, regulated.
They borrow your calm. They co-regulate with your stability. And that borrowed calm gives them the mental and emotional bandwidth they need to actually think, to problem solve, to cope with the struggle. You are literally their external regulator until their own internal system matures enough.
That puts a lot of responsibility on the parent's self-management, but it also makes it clear where the primary effort needs to go, managing our own reactions first.
Absolutely. Which leads to what might be the hardest skill of all in this approach: mastering strategic restraint, the power, the strength to sometimes do nothing.
Doing nothing sounds easy, but you're saying it's incredibly hard. Why?
Because you're fighting biology, deep, ancient wiring. When your child shows distress, crying, yelling, melting down, your brain is programmed for immediate action. Your amygdala, the threat detection center, lights up. It interprets your child's discomfort as your emergency.
And other parts of the brain jump in too.
Oh yeah. The anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC, which is involved in error detection and managing conflict, gets activated, pushing you to resolve the situation now. Plus, you have bonding hormones like oxytocin flooding your system, compelling you to soothe, to fix, to eliminate the pain in this person you love so much.
So, biologically, intervening feels like self-preservation almost, like stopping an alarm bell.
It really does. It feels viscerally wrong to just stand by. Therefore, the skill isn't about ignoring the child or being cold. It's about consciously overriding that powerful, ancient biological urge with intentional strategic thought.
Is there a process for doing that in the moment?
The sources suggest a kind of internal four-step pause that can help. A mental checklist when you feel that urge to rescue.
Okay, walk us through it. What's step one?
First, just notice the activation. Acknowledge it internally. Wow, I feel that intense pull to jump in right now.
Step two.
Name the sensation. Get specific. My chest feels tight. My jaw is clenched. I feel a wave of panic or irritation. Just naming it creates a little distance.
Okay, notice, name. Step three.
This is the crucial one. The reality check. Ask yourself honestly, is this situation genuinely dangerous? Or is it just uncomfortable? Is it disappointment, frustration, sadness? Usually if the child is physically safe, it's discomfort, not danger.
Right. Distinguishing real threat from developmental friction. And step four.
Choose strategy. Based on that reality check, consciously decide, okay, this is uncomfortable, not dangerous. What does my child's long-term development actually need from me right now? Does it need my rescue or does it need my trust and my calm presence?
That conscious choice point, choosing trust over the biological panic reaction, that's the essence of it.
That's advanced attachment in action. It takes practice, a lot of practice.
Let's apply this. Let's take that self-regulation and restraint into a really tough emotional scenario, one that really pulls at a parent's heartstrings, the big fail.
Yeah, these are hard. Your child experiences a major, maybe public disappointment. They get cut from the team they poured their heart into training for. They bomb a really important exam. They freeze up during a speech they practiced for weeks. They're just devastated, crushed.
Okay. The fixer parent, faced with this deep distress, how do they typically react? And why is it often unhelpful?
The fixer often makes one of two mistakes, sometimes both. Mistake one, minimize the pain. Oh, it wasn't that bad. The coach was unfair anyway. Don't worry, you'll get him next time.
Trying to cheer them up, basically.
Trying to make the bad feeling go away quickly, but it invalidates the child's actual experience. It says, your feelings aren't real or aren't acceptable. Mistake two is the opposite. Lecturing. Well, this is what happens when you don't practice. I told you you needed to prepare more.
Which just adds shame to the disappointment.
Exactly. It kicks them when they're down. Neither minimizing nor lecturing actually helps the child process the emotional reality of the failure. Neither honors where they are.
So how does the believer parent handle this big fail moment using the DETACH framework, specifically applying the H, hold the space?
Holding the space is about presence over pep talks. The believer parent understands their primary job in that moment is co-regulation. They get physically close, maybe sit shoulder to shoulder, offer a hand. They don't try to fix the feeling. They validate it.
What does that sound like?
It sounds like, wow, that really, really sucks.
Right.
I'm so sorry. I know how much you wanted that. Simple, direct, empathetic acknowledgement. No spin.
And then
They just stay.
Right.
They stay present. They allow that huge wave of disappointment or grief or anger or whatever it is to just move through the child. They don't try to stop it, rush it, or talk them out of it. They offer their own calm, regulated presence as an anchor in the storm.
trusting that the child can actually weather this emotional storm.
Trusting the child's innate capacity to feel, process, and eventually recover. The parent's regulated presence sends a powerful message. These feelings are huge, maybe overwhelming right now, but they are safe. You are safe feeling them right here with me.
And the practical advice, the what went wrong analysis that comes later?
Much later. Only after the emotional storm has passed and the nervous system has settled back down. Then you can debrief. But you do it with data, not drama.
Data, not drama. I like that. Like reviewing game film.
Exactly like that. You approach it calmly, curiously, like a coach, asking neutral questions. Okay, thinking back, what was your preparation like? What did you notice about X or Y? If you faced a similar situation again, what might you do differently? No blame, no shame, just objective information gathering for next time.
And it's this whole approach, holding space, debriefing with data, that embodies the believer mindset.
Yes, it consistently sends that unwavering message. I trust you. I trust you can handle the pain of this setback, and I trust you have the capacity to learn from it and figure out your next move.
This entire shift, moving from fixer to believer, from managing immediate outcomes to trusting long-term capacity, it feels like a fundamental redefinition of the parental role, replacing that constant anxious urgency with trust.
It absolutely is. The believer mindset is laser-focused on long-term capability building. It understands that struggle isn't a sign of parental failure, it's the mechanism of growth, and the payoff is huge.
What's the result you see in kids?
Kids who are raised this way tend to step into challenges rather than shrinking from them. Why?
Hmm.
Because they have a history, internal evidence, proving they can handle difficulty, they can recover from failure, they know they can mess up and still be okay, still be loved, and still have another shot. That's genuine resilience, built from the inside out.
As we start to wrap up, the sources bring up a really interesting idea about the outcome of all this. They call it the effortless paradox. How does strategically doing less, in terms of rescuing, actually make life feel more effortless?
Yeah, it's a paradox, right? The more you try to control everything externally, the grades, the friendships, the tidiness, the outcomes, the harder everything feels. The
Yeah.
more strained the relationships get, the more energy you expend trying to maintain that control. It's exhausting,
Constant vigilance.
constant. But when you consciously step back, when you stop forcing, when you start trusting the process, trusting the confidence loop, the competence cycle, and let them run, things start to flow more naturally.
So life doesn't become magically easy.
No, parenting is never easy,
Yeah.
but it becomes more effortless in the sense that you're working with the grain of human development and neuroscience, not constantly fighting against your child's need for autonomy, for friction, for learning through doing. You're strategically supporting their internal growth instead of trying to manage every external detail.
And this ties into one last really profound point the sources make about memory. What our kids actually remember from their childhood. The memory paradox.
Right. This is grounded in solid psychology, particularly the peak end rule. What the research shows that people, including kids, don't remember the minute-by-minute details of experiences. Their long-term memory latches onto two key things.
Which are?
The most intense emotional moments, the peaks, positive or negative, and how the experience ended, the peak and the end.
So all that effort we pour into making the middle of the day perfect, the clean house, the organic snacks, the perfectly packed backpack that's mostly forgotten.
Largely evaporates from long-term memory. But the peaks, that moment of intense joy when they finally mastered the bike, or the moment of deep disappointment after the big fail, those stick. And the end. How did the day or the difficult interaction finally conclude? That final feeling lingers disproportionately.
Give me an example of the end mattering.
Think about a great day out, maybe Disneyland, amazing fun all day. But if it ends with a massive screaming meltdown fight in the parking lot because someone didn't get the exact right souvenir, that negative ending can actually taint the memory of the entire magical day.
Wow. So mastering this memory paradox means being really intentional about managing those emotional peaks and, crucially, ensuring difficult moments have a safe, regulated ending.
Exactly. It means holding that calm, non-judgmental space, especially during and after struggles. Because the silent messages you send in those peak moments and in how you bring closure, those become the soundtrack.
What
The
soundtrack?
soundtrack of their inner world. Did your presence consistently say, I trust you, you can handle this, your feelings are okay? Or did it say, I'm panicking, you can't handle this, your feelings are too much? That underlying message, repeated over time, shapes their core beliefs about themselves and the world, potentially for a lifetime.
That's the real legacy, isn't it? Not the controlled outcomes, but the instilled belief, the trust.
The steady, grounded belief in their inherent brilliance and capability.
Okay. So let's leave our listeners with that final provocative challenge from the sources. You can't magically inject confidence into your kids. You can't fast track it, but you absolutely can stop doing the things that inadvertently cripple it.
So the challenge is this. The next time your child hits one of those moments, a struggle, a frustration, a failure that triggers your own internal fixer alarm, pause just for a second.
And in that pause, ask yourself,
If I have to choose just one thing right now, offer more relentless, maybe unearned praise, or offer genuine trust, my regulated presence, and the space for them to navigate this struggle, which choice truly equips them for the complex, challenging, autonomous life they deserve to live?
choose the trust.
Choose the struggle. Because that strategic detachment, that belief, isn't about doing less parenting. It's about doing the right parenting at the moments that matter most.
A powerful place to end. That wraps up this deep dive on the confidence loop. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.